So earlier in this chapter, we graphed exponentials, like f of x equals 2 to the x power. Remember, we made a little t-chart to get the parent function, and then if we needed to move it around, we did. I'm going to go ahead and graph this. So I'd have 2 to the negative 1 is 1/2, 2 to the 0 is 1, 2 to the first is 2. And let me go ahead and plot those points. So here's what 2 to the x looks like. I'm going to put a little blue dot beside it so we remember that it's blue. What I want us to go through and graph today is I want us to graph log base 2 of x minus 1 plus 2. Now you'll notice basically we're getting a new parent function today. Our parent function, which I'm going to use a different color for, is going to be log base 2 of x. Once I've got log base 2 of x, I can move it over 1 and up 2. Now the question we've got to figure out today is how do I graph log base 2 of x? And here's what I want you to have in your head. Log base 2 of x and 2 to the x power, those are inverses of each other. Now I want y'all to remember that word, inverses. Back in an earlier chapter when we found inverses, we took the x and the y and switched them. So I'm going to take my 2 to the x power that I already have, there it is, and I'm going to switch the x and the y. Now I'm going to do this in black since that's the color I'm doing here. So everything in black will be for my log base 2 of x. So I just switched the x and the y. So 1/2 negative 1. Now I'm going to plot those. I want y'all to see what they look like. So here then is my log base 2 of x. To get the final thing I'm looking for, I'm just going to take each of those points, and I'm just going to take each of these 3 and move it over 1, up 2, over 1, up 2, over 1, up 2. And there's my graph of log base 2 of x minus 1 plus 2. Now you'll see you're going to have 3 steps here. Your first step is going to be to graph whatever your base is to the x power, be your t-chart. Then you've got to do the inverse of that, flip the x's and y's, to get your logarithm parent function. And I don't know why I put a red dot there. To get your logarithm parent function, then translate it. You're going to have 3 steps. Now I put all of the graphs on here. The red one's my final answer. That's the only one that I need. So if you need to put some of the others, fine. If you don't, that's cool too. Okay, so here's ours to do. Log base 2 of x minus, actually let me change this. I don't want us to do a base 2. So let's do log base 4 of x plus 1 minus 2. Alright, now I'm going to start with 4 to the x power. Y equals 4 to the x power. I picked 4 because it's my base there. And I'm going to do a little t-chart. So negative 1, 0, and 1. 4 to the negative 1 is 1/4. Anything to the 0 power is 1. And 4 to the first power is 4. Okay, now the second thing I'm going to do is change it over into a logarithm. Remember, the logarithms are inverses of the exponential, so I'm going to just switch these. Now, I like to actually graph this. I just need my points on here to look at, so I'm going to actually graph these points. I'm not going to connect them, but here's what your graph would look like. Then, to find what I'm actually supposed to find, I'm going to move it back 1, down 2. So back 1, down 2, back 1, down 2, back 1, down 2. And here then is my graph. Okay, remember you got to do 3 steps. Exponential, parent function log, and then move it left, right, side to side to get what you actually need. Now I want to make sure you have a couple of definitions written down. One of these I've already mentioned. In 8.3a we talked about having the base 10, that's called the common log. It's just plain old log, you don't even write it. Now in your calculator, base 10, you use that button right there. The other one I want to introduce you to today is called the natural log. Natural log is base E. Now let me show you what that is on the calculator. Your E button is either right here, see it's above the division sign, or right here above the natural log. You can use either one. I'm going to use this one on the division for the moment. E is this messy number kind of like pi, but you can put it in your calculator. Now it comes up a lot in math areas, so it got its own name like pi. Now log base E gets its own special name. It's called natural log, the ln. Okay, now the way you say the ln is natural log. I don't know why they put it L then the N when it seems like they would do N then the L since it's natural log, but they switched the L and the N in terms of the order. I don't really know why. So log base E, another name for it is natural log, and you do have a button for natural log on your calculator. It's right underneath the other log button, the ln. That's log base E. Okay, and then the last thing I want us to go through and do is to find inverses. Now, like I said, you know how to find inverses. You take the x and the y and you switch them. Okay, I can do that. And then you want to go back and solve for the y. So I'm going to just change forms. So 4 to the x power equals y. And that's my inverse. Usually you put the y first, so I'm just going to turn it around. So y equals 4 to the x. Now y'all see how a minute ago I told you that 4 to the x and the logarithm were inverses of each other? That's what's happening here. We're going to get some that are a little bit messier because they've got other numbers in them. So that'll be a little more challenging there. Okay, so same thing. Let's find the inverse. Now remember, if the base is not written, it's understood to be 10. So I'm going to switch my x. I'm going to go ahead and write that base of 10 and the y. And then I'll go back and solve for the y. Okay, so change forms. So I have 10 to the x power equals y plus 1. And then I'll subtract the 1 to the other side. Alright, so 10 to the x minus 1 equals y. And like I said, usually it's written with the y first, so I'm just going to turn it around and write it that way. Alright, so this is 8.3b. I might have given you a few that are challenging in terms of the numbers on the homework, so just don't be surprised if you see that. Alright, so this is 8.3b.